A private business jet going from Aruba to Miami narrowly avoided a near collision with a U.S. Air Force refueling tanker near Venezuela.
This marks the second reported near mid-air collision in as many days near Venezuela. Pete Montine joins us now. Pete, what are you learning about this?
Well, the good news is these incidents have been happening in clear weather in daytime, so these pilots have been able to spot these collisions in the making before they got much worse. This latest case happened Saturday afternoon, but just coming to light now, and we're able to piece this incident together from the air traffic control audio from liveatc.net. This close call was detailed by the pilots of this private jet that just departed from Aruba on its way to Miami. That's only about 15 miles from the coast of Venezuela, where the airspace is pretty sensitive right now, to say the least. The pilots essentially reported what the crew of a JetBlue flight reported just the day before: a large United States Air Force aerial refueling tanker appearing without triggering their in-cockpit collision warning systems. The pilots of this private jet say they were climbing through an altitude of 26,000 feet when they said they would have climbed into the Air Force jet. And I want you to listen now to the radio transmissions in which they describe this encounter being too close for comfort. Listen.
We just got that traffic. I don't know how we didn't get an RA for that, but they were really close.
RA meaning a resolution advisory on the traffic collision avoidance system. The pilot said the plane looked big, like a Boeing 777 or 767, which is similar to an Air Force tanker. That new incident comes just one day after the pilots of a JetBlue flight said they had to abruptly stop their climb due to an Air Force refueling tanker that crossed directly in front of their flight path. That incident happened after that JetBlue flight took off from Curacao, so in roughly the same area of the Caribbean Sea where this new incident occurred. The Pentagon and Dutch officials are reviewing that case involving that JetBlue flight. The National Transportation Safety Board tells me it's gathering information on these two incidents, but has not officially launched an investigation on either one of them.
All right, we'll be looking for that. Pete, thank you very much.
A second near collision in the skies near Venezuela just one day after a similar incident. This one involved a private jet and a U.S. Air Force refueling tanker. This is one of the pilots of the private jet moments after it happened.
We just got that traffic. I don't know how we didn't get an RA for that, but they were really close.
Right, this is the second reported near collision near Venezuela in 2 days. Last month, the FAA warned U.S. airlines of heightened military activity over that country. With us now is Brad Bowman, a former Black Hawk pilot. Brad, great to see you. Just two near misses in the same general area. How alarming is that?
Thanks for the opportunity to join you, John. When I look at these back-to-back aviation incidents, they're different, the two of them, but they're both deeply concerning. Thankfully, the disaster was avoided and no one was injured. In either case, the commercial pilots took appropriate action to maintain separation and to report the incident. So hopefully this doesn't happen again. But if changes aren't made, we may not be so fortunate in the future. And when you have commercial aircraft and military aircraft conducting combat operations in close proximity with one another, that can obviously be a dangerous mix. Why is that? Well, the military aircraft don't want to be seen by the adversary, obviously, because that means they might get shot down. So that means they're going to, as they approach the area where they are or might be conducting combat operations, they're going to turn their transponder off. You know, if you are the one in the cockpit or a parent or loved one of those service members, that's exactly what you'd want them to do. But obviously efforts to make sure that the adversary can't see you also means that air traffic control and commercial pilots can't either. And so that's why you have to have procedures in place to avoid such things like this. And I would just add that the FAA did issue notices on November 21 warning pilots and airlines to exercise caution in and around Venezuela to avoid risk. And they repeated that on Tuesday. But, the traveling public, these pilots, they have a right to, they have a reasonable concerns here. And I have sources in the military that tell me that they saw these commercial aircraft and were taking appropriate steps. But this was indeed deeply concerning.
Whose job is it to deconflict when these jets get close?
It's a fair question. It's the job of every pilot, whether commercial or military, to ensure that they maintain separation with other aircraft. So it's the job of every pilot. The FAA has issued these warnings. That's the FAA doing their job. These commercial pilots did their jobs fully by having their transponders on and coordinating with ATC and taking appropriate action. I really think that we need to be scrutinizing whether it makes sense right now, whatever one thinks of what's happening in Venezuela. And I have concerns whether it makes sense right now for commercial airlines to be flying through an area where the FAA has explicitly issued warnings, and we may have imminent increased combat operations as we speak.
Yeah, they can just choose to go elsewhere or not go in that area, correct?
Right. No, I mean, this is the major inconveniences to the lives of the traveling public. Not great for these airlines, but in the end, right, you're talking about a war zone, and an FAA warning has been issued. So I would not be advising my loved ones right now to be anywhere near that area.
Brad Bowman, great to see you this morning. Thank you very much.